Sometimes it seems to me that the agenda of a conference really starts to fall in place. And I'm so glad, Pascal, that we're on stage after our last two speakers have started to talk about the challenge and the opportunity from whether you call it digital transformation, whether you call it not being left behind in technology, but in particular, we're going to focus in this very brief session on making better decisions faster through data science. And Pascal, you're the head of the Amadeus business unit supporting data, working with airlines. And you've worked for many other technology companies, not just in the airline industry. But just as a quick insight, first of all, how do you rate the guys out here in the airline industry compared to your previous businesses that you've worked with?
Thank you, Bryan. Yeah. So first, I just want to say I feel like most of the important things have just been said with the excellent presentation we had from Mark. But if we go back to the question, how I would rate. So when I joined Amadeus 5 years ago, I have to say I was surprised when I realized what was the maturity in the airline space about data and analytics at the time. If we could look at the numbers, what I found out is that on average, the spending on data and analytics was in the average of half of the average industry. So I think here it was a surprise to me, even if today on the overall data science world, everybody is talking about data. Everybody is talking about data science. A lot of people understand there is a revolution here, but it's not completely clear. And I would say most of the industries are beginners, right, in that space. So I would say industry, from an airline perspective, a bit late, a bit slow to engage, but it's not too late.
Good. So there's hope for us. So what is, in your opinion, is the progression of an airline wishing to get up to speed and become somebody we'd like to talk about on the stage in future? What's the progression towards excellence in data science?
Yeah, first, so many airlines are looking at the subject and working already on that. You can see that there are already some differences in where they are from where they need to go. I think one of the things that you heard in the previous presentation that I completely endorse is the fact that the biggest pain, the most important thing is the data integration. So bringing the data in the right place, right processes, the right level of quality of the data is about 80 to 90% of the exercise. So in order to look at these different pieces of work, you have to combine two things. One is the infrastructure. You cannot engage in a data science experience without having put in place the infrastructure. Airbus did, I think, the right approach by engaging with a partner that was specialized. This is for sure the fastest way to go. But then, of course, you need the business cases. And you have some business cases, and then you will start to engage with these business cases on the usage of the infrastructure and build progressively what you need. What you will find is most of the business cases that you define at the beginning were not relevant. Okay, so it's an experimentation world where you will progressively find the right use cases and the right way to use it. So you have this continuous business use case and infrastructure that is key. I see a lot of customers starting on the business without the infrastructure, and I see some others starting on the infrastructure without the business case. Here, this is absolutely key to put in place these two approaches in the same time. Okay,
so we heard from Aegean that old technology is a real problem, and I'm sure we both feel passionately that that is true. However, automating the existing processes is another thing which is a bit of a disaster because you get no real improvement other than a very complicated system. However, if you, following Bill Gates' advice, you sort out the process first and then automate that, that's a key for the future. But just thinking about whether that future does offer competitive advantage or not, and thinking about some of the buzzwords that people have been throwing around a bit, but in our data science world, one in particular, machine learning. Where does that fit in this progression, and is it a key to competitive advantage, in your opinion?
Yes, so machine learning is one way to do things in the overall large artificial intelligence. You know, animating a robot or landing an aircraft is using artificial intelligence today. Machine learning is one of the techniques, basically using the software to start creating its own data. But I want to go back to a point that for me is critical, is when we talk about processes. Data and data science is not about understanding what's going on in a better way only. Of course it is, but there is an absolutely key factor which I think brings the revolution for the future, which is data and data science is going to progressively replace all the processes we have in any type of industry. We have now the capability to use computation mixed with an enormous amount of data that is available in order to, in fact, allow the machines to make better decisions than what human would, okay? Better and faster decision than what human was. And this is something I think is absolutely key to understand, is where we are going in terms of growth. That's why the infrastructure that we put at the beginning is absolutely key. This infrastructure will need to allow to embark a massive amount of data, will need to be open, will need to be able to deal with real-time capabilities, and all this will be something that will progressively replace. We have engaged in Amadeus already in that place, so basically to see how each piece of our portfolio is going to be enhanced, modified, changed with what are the capabilities brought by the data and the computation capability.
Okay, so enough of the theory for a moment. Let's talk about practice. So can you tell us a little bit about what I understand you've been working with one airline on disruption handling? How does this come to play?
So there is one example that I like to explain. It's public, so this is something that we did with Qantas in Australia. So with Qantas, we worked on saying how we could improve the rescheduling after a disruption. And what we have done is we built something that we call schedule recovery, which is all about using computation and using the data coming from all the different sources. When you have a disruption, as you know, you have to readdress the gate, the crew, the food, the maintenance, the fuel, etc., etc. And today, this is something that in most of the airline is done, I would say, semi-manually. Okay? So we put in place this capability, so bringing all this data together, putting the right algorithm in place in order to optimize the speed on which we were going to replan the day, and in order to minimize the number of cancellations, of course. So this is, for me, a good example of how data and computation is now enabling the airline to do a much better job than what experts that have been in that space for 20 years could do. And we did benchmark. We did benchmark, you know, the best teams against the machine, and the machine was winning by far.
And that's now an implemented
So yeah, we are
solution you
finalizing
want
the
us?
implementation. One example I can give you was quite interesting because as we have not completely finalized the implementation, but part of the application is working. And there was a storm in Sydney. And during that storm, I think Qantas had to cancel during the weekend 15 flights, which is already a lot. But what is interesting is to understand that the competition had to cancel 80 flights. So if we look at what it makes in terms of difference of cost, this is an absolutely enormous factor.
The business case is achieved very quickly in that case.
Yeah.
But let's move away from operations and let's think about commercial things. And it does seem to me that one of the things that airlines are keen to do commercially at the moment is to get rid of legacy practices and technology around pricing processes. And increasingly at conferences like this, you'll see on the topic of personalized pricing, dynamic pricing, and I just wonder, is that an area that Amadeus has been involved in researching? Is there anything you can tell us about that?
Yeah, it is definitely an area. There is a new product, I think it's called Amadeus Dynamic Pricing, being currently under development, and in which we would use this capability. Especially, we would embark into this, the capability of extracting the data from shopping sessions from the travel agents, as we are in connection with all the travel agents, in order to improve the way we perform the pricing. So this is something that goes after the revenue management system and improve the overall price that we can propose.
And from a business perspective, do you have any idea of what type of benefit that might bring in revenue terms to an airline? I know I've been looking for quotes on this in various places, and the gurus are in Massachusetts Institute of Technology. They have a revenue management group, and I've seen them being quoted as saying this could be worth as much as 6% revenue to an airline. But have you got your own figures on this? Is anything you could share?
It's very variable depending on what you do, of course. But the 6% is a kind of common number that is agreed through the industry around revenue management in terms of improvement. We have use cases on which we are working that are showing, for example, there is one on trying to improve the pricing in the context. So you having a long haul, you're going to very likely need a baggage. So and then this is something that we can improve in terms of pricing. On this one, for example, I think the outcome was about 14.5% improvement that we could find in terms of revenue. But I want to say something again. There is an obsession about how we can improve revenue. But I think there is something that is even more obvious, which is how much this can improve profit. This can improve efficiency. You know, with the example I was giving, just saying that we have saved 65 cancellation in a weekend of flight, this is absolutely enormous. And I think that we can work on any process and improve the processes. There is one book that I love, I'm sure you have, some of you have read it, which is called Thinking Fast and Slow. It's written by a gentleman called Daniel Kahneman. I think he got a Nobel Prize. And he has been working on trying to understand how we make decisions as human. It's quite scary, by the way, but it really explains and shows precisely how machines are most of the time much better than we are in making the right decisions. And this is something that is going to change a lot of things. The speed of making these decisions, the capability to analyze an enormous amount of data extremely quickly, and then the decision being made without any intuition or sentiment or emotion is going to improve a lot the way we drive things.
Okay. Well, Pascal, unfortunately, we're just about out of time today. However, I understand that you do offer a service to airlines who would like to understand where they are on that capability ladder towards excellence in data science. So anybody interested, please talk to Pascal afterwards. But thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Bryan.